Hello, hello, and welcome to a new episode of Borderline Podcast Disorder by Levy Lupu. I'm your host, Levy Lupu, and I hope you had a good week last week, and I hope you're looking forward to what is it, the second to last or no? Yeah, I think it's like what 2 or 2 weeks left in the year. I hope you get to do as much as you can throughout this period. For anyone celebrating Christmas, Merry Christmas. And sorry, that was just Sarma trying to um eat my lunch. But yeah, sorry for anyone celebrating Christmas. I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And for anyone celebrating Hanukkah, Happy Hanukkah. And for anyone celebrating anything else, Happy holidays, happy everything. I hope you. I mean, yeah. To be realistic, I hope you have a good time. I feel like I don't want to. I don't know. I don't want to like set up the expectations too high because then, yeah, I don't know. I feel like the disappointments can be bigger. So I hope you have a good time through and through. And yeah, so far it's going to be a busy end of the year for me. I've got some like day job issues that I still need to fix, and I will be able to once again, hopefully next into in the new year, I'll be able to talk about that into more detail. But besides of that, I've done. It was weird because the last therapy session that I have done, which was last week. I actually took shorter than expected, way shorter. It was we were kind of like done in about 30 minutes because I feel like some things were just very repetitive. It was not much that I could have done or said or to like have it be addressed during the session, and we kind of just ended there, and now on Monday we're gonna see each other again, and we'll discuss a bit more. And although not many things changed, I feel like my sleeping, it's still been terrible. I don't know why, but I just wake up a lot with a lot of like, I want to say like weird dreams and nightmares, and just everything just feels very like real, and it tires me out. But I I feel I'm more at peace with it. Although I was talking with a friend of mine the other day. We were at the synagogue, and I was saying to her about how I kind of wish that it could be more reliable, like this sleep deprivation could be more reliable. It would make such a huge difference to at least know when I'm about to have a bad night's sleep, so then I can plan the following day accordingly, rather than just being taken by surprise all the time. And I feel that's the bigger struggle. But again, I know that's unrealistic. It was just something that I thought would work out quite well, and at least for me, it would have been very very helpful. But yeah, on other news, I've yeah, I've had an okay week. I've done a lot of admin stuff, and I think I might have mentioned on the when I was recording the last episode that I started using my to do list a bit more and a bit better, and it's kind of working. Like every time I have a thought, or I know I need to get something done, I'll either do it straight away or I'll put it on a list rather than just thinking that I'll remember later. And in this way, I genuinely feel like, yeah, I've done a lot more in the past week. I've managed to do some more admin work. I managed to do some chores that I've put off for a while, and yeah, I'm glad it's working out. The meditation, it's not. it's not been going as much. Like I haven't done it. I haven't done the 15 minutes a day thing as I thought I would. Um, but I tried to do mindful activities in different ways. Just to perhaps take some time and just enjoy the moment. Just think about the moment. Don't think about anything else that has nothing to do with the action that I'm in right now. And that's been very helpful as a sort of an alternative to the meditation. But I am trying for this week to get back on into it as well. And then I feel like on the even brighter side, I've finally managed to get a physician appointment. Physiotherapist. Sorry, physiotherapist. I've managed to get a physiotherapist appointment. I'll be seeing someone this week, and hopefully I'll be able to get some clarity on how to fix my bad back and yeah, be able to be active more. I also feel like in the last week I've managed almost every day to like close the rings on my watch, and I've managed to do activities of some sort, and it felt quite nice. But the problem is that I've also been quite dependent on painkillers, and it's something that I want to I guess stir is that word, just get away from. Yeah, I'll just use what I know. It's something that I want to get away from. I don't want to get accustomed to it. I know it's I know my mom used to take lots of painkillers because she was in a lot of pain, and I think that genuinely the reminder of taking painkillers, it reminds me of like her and the way she passed away. And I think that it's just something there that I guess it could be addressed, or it should be addressed in one way or another. But that's what I think of when I take painkillers. I feel like I'm just scared of again, just like putting a plaster or like a band-aid over a wound that's still open and it's still painful, and I'd rather address the wound than try to close the wound or like fix the wound, rather than just trying to make me feel of the numb from the said wound. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see the physiotherapist. It's the first time I'm seeing one in real life. I had some video appointments a couple of months ago, and I've been told to do some exercises, which I've done, but they didn't work. And yeah, hopefully again that's going to be addressed, and I'll be feeling much better, or at least even kind of better will do at this stage. um, because yeah, it's hard. I don't want to live like a sedentary life, but then every time I do stuff, I have to um, take painkillers. Every time if I go on a run, or if I'm doing like skipping rope, or even from golf. I got so sore last week when I went to the driving range. Um, from an hour of just playing a few balls, and it's just I don't know, just it annoys me, because I don't want to live like that. And also, yeah, it's anyway, that will be addressed later in the week, and I'll let you know how it goes. And look, this week's guest is someone that's been our guest in the first ever episode of Borderline Podcast Disorder. When I feel like I was gonna say when I didn't really know where I want to go with this, and what was the idea of doing the podcast, besides of the fact that I just wanted to kind of like share my journey with BPD. And I've got Nancy to come back, and I've got Nancy in the first place to say yes to being the first guest in the Borderline Podcast Disorder. And at the time, you can listen to it as the first episode. I feel like I've changed a lot, and I've learned a lot about how to put a podcast together and edit and do all these like cool or like better things. While back then again, it was mostly a dream or I wouldn't even. Yeah, it was mostly something that I wanted to do, but I didn't really know how. Well, now I still have a lot to learn. I'm aware of that, but it just feels like it's better. You know, I feel more. I feel like I know my stuff better. But yeah, Nancy is back, and this time, unlike the first time, it's not a remote. Wasn't a remote episode. We've recorded in person, and it was great. You know, because we got to catch up because we are friends as well. So and we haven't seen each other in a while, so it was nice to once again it was nice to catch up like that, and then on top of it to record was cool. And then we didn't really have an agenda, but we got to cover a lot of interesting top topics, you know, and it's always a pleasure speaking with Nancy. And look, check out her work on the bio of the podcast. And anything else from me? No, I think that's it. I think you had enough of me. Enjoy um, the episode with Nancy, and I'll catch you before we wrap it up. Thank you. Okay, so uh, Nancy, how's it going?
It's going good.
Thank you for coming back.
Pleasure. It's so funny to have this conversation after we've been talking for so long already.
I know that's true. Yeah, for everyone listening, it's just because like we've actually started like hanging out.
We're
Uh,
catching up.
yeah, a couple hours. Yeah, a couple hours ago,
Yeah.
and now we've started recording, and yeah, it's kind of like, oh yeah, so how have you been? Well, I've already
Yeah, we already know all
yeah,
that.
we already know all that, so we'll get straight into business.
Yeah. Oh, and if the
But
audience,
also for everyone listening, sorry.
we're both good. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you on behalf of everyone. Um, seamlessly
Mm.
putting this together in real time. But yes, so no, for everyone listening, yeah, how have you been?
Yeah, I've been good. Since I was last on the podcast, I've been um moving a lot, doing a lot of like what I would call like life admin and putting my life back together and making sure that it makes sense. I feel like after the like pandemic, I came out of it quite easily, it feels like. And so but everything crashed 2 years afterwards. And so for me, the last sort of year or so has been about like how do I enjoy life? How do I for I guess now that there's been a kind of a long enough time between then and now, I feel like I could say that I had a breakup. And so after a long relationship, being like putting back my life together, it's really weird because I feel like I've gone from being a uh like what I feel like was a very full adult, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I had my own like place with my partner and da da da. And then now I'm living like a student because I have 5 other housemates and we have to share the kitchen and it's been very transitional.
God, yeah, it's wild because I think I kind of like remember last year when we were recording, we were still like, oh, had a bit like of an insight of everything that's going on outside of, say, you know, like outside of the creative pursuit, or like basically like
Yeah.
what's happening like in your daily life that you're still, you know, dealing with, and you're like you have to manage this. But then also in the same hand, you've been quite busy
Mm-hmm.
because I've seen you've been traveling to like loads of conventions, and you know you've done like all this other stuff, but then in the same time having to go from, yeah, like you were saying, a like an adult
Yeah.
to going back, not back, but I'll say yeah, to go to like being a s- no student, but yeah, living as a young adult.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to explain it, but yeah, it feels strange. It almost feels like we are, you know, writing the script for like a TV show or something.
Genuinely. Oh, the amount of times that I've like obviously because I make comics, it's I'm like trying to figure out everything feels funny to me because that's how I cope with life. And so I'm like, oh, that's really funny. And it's very interesting because I've been doing therapy for like the last couple years, and I have um I would I think I'm embarrassed. I feel embarrassment very rarely, but like I just not I maybe not embarrassed, but I just I feel a bit bad about all the trauma dumping that I used to do, but it was a way for me to process all my feelings because I really didn't know how to do it. So I'm not doing that as much. And so but it's still coming out in my creative work. And so I'm n- also learning boundaries with myself about like, oh wait, I haven't finished thinking about this yet and it's too fresh. So actually, when my previous relationship ended, I was working on a comic for an anthology. And there was a bunch of like creators coming together. If you are into comics and you want to start, no matter how good you are at drawing, this community is called the Whip Comics people. And they every year we create an anthology of like tons of different work from lots of people under the same theme. And the theme for that year was change. And I was like, ah, perfect. I'm going to write about my breakup. And it was too new and too fresh. And like, as halfway through writing it and drawing it and putting all that together, I was like, this is so hard. I don't want to do this anymore. So I'm now kind of like keeping myself uh kind of more boundaried with how I'm processing my feelings privately versus like sharing them with other people.
Interesting. But then what happened with the notebook? With the notebook, with the book?
Oh yes. I the um I instead of doing a comic about the end of my relationship, I changed it to the change that I was experiencing with my ADHD medication and like learning how to manage all that. It's very interesting because you said that of like, oh, you've been so busy, you've been traveling so much for conventions. Like, I, it's a coping mechanism. It's
Yeah, no.
basically if I'm too busy to think about anything else that I actually need to spend time thinking about, then I won't have to think about it, which means it doesn't exist. And that's fine. That's way better than sitting there and thinking about, like, oh my God. Ugh.
Which, yeah, I guess it's fair enough because, well, it's what I think at times. I don't know what it feels like for you now. I'm quite curious to hear your point, but I think looking back at personal situations where I'm like, oh, I'm just doing all these things, and it actually helps me like keep my mind off it. But then everyone, or like not everyone, but some people would be like, hey, that's a bit worrisome, and you're like, hey, why is it worrisome? Like
Yeah.
I'm doing so much stuff, and then I would eventually take a break because usually the way it works is that I'd eventually like have a breakdown of some sort, or I'll
Yes.
just like get so overwhelmed that I'm just okay, I'm done now. And then I'm like, oh, I get it. That's why you were worried.
Because then your body takes back all that time. It's like, okay, you're not only fine, you're exhausting your mind because you're still, this is still in the background, but in your foreground, you're putting other stuff that I guess we need to think about, like, when is our flights, or do we need to take a train, or can we afford going to this, comics event and selling all our stuff and printing new work and da da da. And so that's now I'm thinking about two things. The other one I'm thinking about secretly when I don't notice. Um, and then your body also like physiologically gives up and it's like, no, no more of this. You Here you go, have a cold, because otherwise you're not going to stop, are you? It's so rude because it's interrupting the process, but then
Yeah.
that's the only way that you're
Trust the
actually going to get
process.
it.
Work yourself to the bone.
Yeah.
Oh God, yeah, it's wild because I also think that I can almost feel it where I have those times where I can feel like my immunity just drops. Like
Mm.
I would be very healthy and very okay, and then because of this all, I just have that one day. Um, Funny enough, was like maybe like 3 weeks ago now, because I was telling you about like the whole stress with some like personal stuff.
Mm.
Um, it's catch up with me, and then I was like, oh, I think I'm getting a cold, and then that's how like things started. And I was like, and now when you said like yeah, when you said what you said, I was like, oh yeah, that's actually my most recent escapade was me going because I remember I was basically meant to get a touch up on a tattoo that I had done,
Mm.
and I was sitting on the couch, and I was just like I could feel my skin
Mm.
like pinching, and like I could feel like myself shivering,
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, I think am I coming down with a cold?
it sneaks up on you.
And I texted my tattoo artist and my London tattoo guy. I want to make sure that you know
Do you feel like you're
my match.
cheating on your on the
Yeah, I do sometimes. That's a thing where I remember when I first got tattooed. This is very off topic,
Mm.
but yeah, when I first got tattooed, I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna let you tattoo my whole body." I said to a very good, I'd say, good friend of mine, Jose. He's a very good tattoo artist. He's based in Manchester, but then because I moved to London, obviously I can't just
Yeah.
go to Manchester whenever I want.
Mm.
It's expensive. Uh, yeah, and I was like, oh, and then I found some like, or I work with like other people, but yeah, sometimes or like it's. I remember a couple of years ago. Have you got any tattoos?
No, but
No.
I'm waiting to go to Japan before I get tattoos
Right.
so I can
Okay.
fully enjoy.
Because I was gonna say that I went to I got a tattoo in London, and then I went back to Manchester, and I had a tattoo by uh, my good friend by Jose, and then it just felt like I don't know about him because I
Yeah.
can't assume what was going on in his head, but in my head, I felt so embarrassed because basically he finished a piece on my chest, but then from like my neck, it's
Mm.
actually not my neck, but like my collarbone,
Mm.
it's done by someone else, and obviously he can't see
Yeah.
but then he wouldn't say anything, and neither was I, and we were just like
This awkward.
awkward, yeah, and we were kind of like, are we gonna address this or?
If almost especially because of where it is, the metaphor works perfectly. You know the typical like movie telenovela thing of like the wife finds lipstick on his
Yes,
collar.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's exactly the same thing as that. It's like, what is this?
yeah. And the only thing that he said, he was like, "Hey, this looks a little," because like the tattoo that he's done, it has to be like it's like perfectly like in the middle.
Mm.
So he was like, "Hey, the other two pieces look a bit off center." And I was like, "Yeah."
So scary.
Like, and also, I'm so sorry. But yeah, no. So coming back to the point, I was meant to get like my touch up done, and yeah, I just had to text him and be like, "Hey, look, man, I think I'm going down with a cold, and I got the tattoo in the past when I had a cold,
Mm.
and it's a I personally find it like a horrible experience.
Yeah, I can't
Yeah,
imagine because of course it like this is like a I don't know how much of a myth this is, and I'm pretty sure that it feels like mean of me not to acknowledge it because it does look rough. But man colds seem intense. And so like having a man cold quote unquote is like it looks like extra hard work on top of getting a tattoo.
I honestly, I don't know if you're being sarcastic.
No, I've met so many guys like well, obviously I've been the world is full of different people, whatever. But like my partner, his like ex's dads when they get a cold, it feels like a very special looking kind of hell sometimes. Like it's and I don't know, maybe this is like more of a dad thing. It's like a dad man cold. It's like a subgenre of the man cold where it's like it's like all the sounds sound extra terrible.
I, but again, I'm making this up, and I have no evidence to back what I'm about to say. But I feel like historically, it feels like this is the only time when some men feel comfortable enough to express vulnerability.
Oh my god.
So like that's when they like that's when all these like sounds come out
Oh,
of.
I
That's when
see.
when all this like, oh, I'm gonna die, and it's like, no, it's you just have high temperature, like it's It's going to be okay.
That's a good theory. I like that
I just came
theory.
up with that now. Actually, I'm very proud.
I think you should be. That
Thank you.
works a lot. Works very well because it's also such a common experience that
Yeah.
it's like, oh my god, I'm like everyone now. I have feelings.
Well, this is why, because I was thinking. In the other hand, I was like, at least I feel like with a woman, when you have like a say, you have like period pain. Like
Mm,
I sometimes I think I did I watched this like I think it was like a video which was meant to be like funny, but also like to bring awareness. Where it's like you have like pre-period
yeah,
pain, and then you have period pain, and then you have post-period pain, and then you have like a week when you're
a hundred
okay.
percent accurate.
So then
Yes. Oof.
now obviously this is, I don't know, in my head it sounds very funny. I'm about to say it, and I don't know what it was going to sound like, but I feel like you've got the training to deal with a
Oh,
cold.
100%.
While to I feel like even although again I had many physical like health issues and stuff like last year that I had to deal with, but then I think historically it's kind of like that's our only opportunity
Yeah.
to be like, oh, is this what it feels like?
Yeah.
Although I'm lying, I had bad knees my whole life, and yeah, like I feel like ladies, I get you. No, I'm
Can you
joking.
imagine? It's like, oh yeah, bad knees.
Yeah, I
Wear
get.
some high-heeled shoes, you fucking dickhead. I'm sorry. I don't know. How much swearing is okay?
No, it's okay as much as you want.
Oh,
Yeah,
great. Yeah. Okay.
that's
Got it.
absolutely fine. No worry.
Excellent.
Um, but yeah, also I feel like that might have been like misogynistic to an extent, which is not the case. I promise you, I'm not.
No, I
I just
wouldn't be here if
that's
you
just
were.
like again, those were the thoughts that came in my head, and I thought, you know what, I will share the thoughts. But yeah,
I approve your message
yeah, let's not.
as a woman, which also for me doesn't mean that I speak for all women. So if you're mad,
Thank
then
you.
you know. But I was gonna say about like the period pain thing. I'm so glad to see social media content about it that is like more transparent about it because uh generally like feel like traditionally and based on societal standards feel like I need to be tough and strong, and women are like secretly doing that already, which like women have been saying about like this whole time. It's like, yeah, you're tough, we're all tough, let's just calm down, we're all it's all good. But
Yeah,
the whole period thing, so I have slash had endometriosis. I don't know, I've probably talked to you about this before because I complain about it all the time.
yeah. I think we've. I can't remember if we touched in the last episode, but I know we have covered. I just can't remember if it was
On the podcast
on
or
the
not.
podcast. But yes, what do you mean you had? I thought you can't
I
not have it.
It's very weird because I think that is the case. I think in theory you can get surgery to stop it kind of, but you may have to get surgery multiple times. So I've had two surgeries to try and get rid of it. The first one worked beautifully, and then 2 years later I had it all over again. And for endometriosis, like to say how bad it is, they use stages like the way they do with cancer. So like when someone has stage 4 cancer, it's like very very bad. Where they the first time I had surgery, I had stage 4 endometriosis. That meant that some of my organs were fused together. Yeah, it was awful.
What?
I didn't even know that. So obviously, I'm in pain. That 1 week for me was literally maybe a few days. That like I didn't feel like I was in pain, that my knees didn't hurt, that my back didn't hurt, that my brain was not functioning fully.
Holy shit.
So I'd have these 3 days of like, oh wow, maybe actually I was making it all up, which is another horrible thing that happens to you. So you kind of deny your own pain and everything. And um when I got the surgery, it was insane. The doctors told me at the end, they're like, yeah, your bladder and your womb were fused together, I think. My ovary and my, it's like part of the tubes were fused together with all this like gunk. Oh, I should probably say for anybody who doesn't know what endometriosis is, if you haven't already clicked away, thank you to from all the period talk. It's basically when you're uh like when you have your period, there's basically, and I'm if also apologies if I'm explaining this badly, but when you have your period, there's basically too much period and none of it, all not all of it makes it out, so it gets stuck to your uterine lining, like that your uterine lining gets thicker and it starts growing in places where it shouldn't. And that's what like ends up fusing your organs and stuff together. And basically, it was only about a year and a half, maybe 2 years between getting my first surgery and the second surgery when I had stage 3 endometriosis. So it only took 2 years for it to come back like in full swing. But yeah, I feel it makes sense for going back to like I'm really strong and stuff. With my personality and how much I didn't know that I pretend to be this strong this often, but I'm finding that out now. With my personality, I'm like, oh yeah, I just I only have to take painkillers all the time. It's actually fine. And yes, of course, I can run a marathon. Like I never have, by the way. It's just like I'll still try it. By that I mean I can go to the gym.
You could have if you wanted to.
Yeah, I was like, oh, of course I could. Like if me being the stubborn kind of person that I am,
Yeah.
someone was like, oh, you definitely can't go to the gym whilst all that's happening to you. I was like, oh yeah, fucking watch me. I'll
Yeah.
fucking do it. You can fucking see. I'll run 70 miles on the treadmill and absolutely wreck the place with how much I'm like crying, sweating, and bleeding.
Holy
Gross.
shit.
I'm
Yeah,
left you speechless.
um I mean, wait, because what I was going to say is that so the because I have some questions about this. Although the with the endo, because I didn't know that it's like stage stuff.
Yeah, me
Um,
neither until after surgery.
Actually, you know what? Let's get it. Let's put it in chronological order.
Mhm.
So, my first question is because when did you know that you had endometriosis?
I didn't know that it had a name or that it was something that was different, but I genuinely think I probably had it since I got my period. I don't know.
No way.
Genuinely. So like so I think I think it's pretty average actually. And I I'm gonna do a comic about this, so all of this feels like a lot of TMI. But when I was 11, I got it, didn't really like understand it, and it was only like maybe 2 or 3 years later that the because I always had cramps. Some women don't have cramps at all during their period, which is like such a giant blessing. But I always had cramps, and they're always very bad. From the age of like 13 and onwards, every like I remember the first time that I got like debilitating, oh my god, I can't stand, walk, speak kind of cramps. And that it was during lunch at school. I was on the playground and first I just couldn't stand up. So I was like bent over on the bench and I was like shaking. And
Did you have a cold?
and my nose was running. I sneezed and it hurt. No, just
Like I'm
thank
dying.
goodness. I have had obviously
Holy shit.
through coincidence, I've had
So,
a cold and a period at the same time. It's very
but
terrible.
what happened then? Like when you were,
Well, I didn't understand what was going on. I obviously I knew what was happening because I was like, oh, I'm on my period, I'm having cramps, but I don't know what's happening now. This is fucking
yeah.
terrible. So I couldn't stand up. Lunch had finished, and I was like, oh no, I'm gonna get in trouble if I don't get to class.
Where were you?
This was in Tanzania, so um, it like my I went to school in Dar es Salaam, so you know one thing also that like you might see that women have like heat pads in the house and stuff like that to keep them warm is because like heat really like helps when you have it like on your belly when or on your back as well when you're having a period. And it um luckily Tanzania is like 30 degrees all the time, so it wasn't until I came to the UK and I was like, oh, this is awful, I hate this. But basically at the playground I couldn't stand up, so I was like crouched down, like I was basically like doing I was in the fetal position, but like still with my feet on the ground, if that makes sense. I was just like really scrunched over.
No way.
And my friend was like, Nancy, we have to go. I was like, I know, I can't stand up. I'm just. And so my teacher came over. Took me to the nurse's office, and I could barely walk. So I was walking like whilst bent over
Yeah.
completely. Went to the nurse's office, fell asleep, and my dad came to pick me up. And this is my favorite story ever. And I know I don't think he listens to podcasts. So this is, I don't know how he's going to feel about this. I'm going to tell him when I call him. But basically, and this is actually, I've started like sketching out this comic, and this is what it starts with. So obviously, me being very confused and angry about this, I was like, why is this happening to me? Also, my best friend was like, oh, she was watching this happen. And
Yeah.
then like a week when I came back to school later, she was a late bloomer, and she was like, oh, I wish I had my period. I was like, no, you fucking don't. What are you talking about? But because it means that you're mature and you're grown up, which is hilarious because I'm still not mature or grown up, and I'm 30 now. So, but my dad picked me up. He came into like where he was driving, and I was like sobbing. I was like because it still hurt like a crazy amount, and I had to stand up and straighten out my body so that I could move. And I was like, why is this happening to me? And he was silent for a little bit. My dad's like generally he's a scary guy, but like most people who are just quite quiet. Does he's normal. He's fine. But I always considered him very serious and very like, I don't think both of us like seeing each other be vulnerable. So even with my dad, I'm kind of like, yes, everything is wonderful, father. I don't call him father, but it just it has that vibe.
Yeah.
But he was quiet for a little bit. He's like, gripping the steering wheel, because also he's, it's my mom and me and him in the house. He had like a I think he only had three sisters, but like the impression I got is that he's not very good at this whole like, hey, it's okay, like, that kind of softer side of things. And so after a while he says, you know, Adam and Eve. And I was like, excuse me? So I look over to him, and it almost surprises me out of my pain because I'm like, what is he
What the
talking
fuck?
about?
What's Adam and Eve got to do with this?
Honestly. So then he goes on to tell me the story of Adam and Eve from the Bible. And I'm like, what? What? And he said, because Eve took the apple, you're being punished. And I was like, oh, you're telling me some woman, even before Jesus was born, is responsible for my pain now? And I was so, ooh, I was so mad. That didn't help at all with my pain. But clearly for my dad, thinking about it, obviously now as an adult and in hindsight, he was like, what can I'm assuming, because obviously we haven't talked about this, but I'm assuming from his perspective, he was like, what can I do to show that this isn't your fault, but it's also inevitable? It's something you're going to have to deal with. And I'm like, really, really reading into that. He could have just genuinely thought that this is Eve's fault, but I don't know. So, yeah, that is kind of where I think it started, that I had, because I've always had pain that was like excessive, crazy amounts.
No way. I remember when I was, oh God, maybe, yeah, I think maybe around like 11, no, maybe 10. I think around 10. Yeah, 10. We started, so we were in class at school, and then every girl would like leave,
Mm.
like two girls at a time would like leave with the nurse and then come back later with like a goodie bag.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember feeling so jealous.
It's like, I want a goodie bag.
Yeah, I was like, "What is this?" And then I'd go to like I remember at break time I'd go to my like girlfriends,
Mm.
and they'd be like, "Hey, what's in there?" And it's like, "We can't tell you." And I was like, "What the fuck?" Which created even more tension because like I want to know
Mm.
why you get the goodie bags.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it turns out that basically they went with the nurse to have a talk about
Mhm.
periods, and they got basically like, yeah. But again, I'm only imagine. I still don't know what they got in that bag.
Yeah, it's still a secret to
Uh,
this day.
yeah, but I remember the whole day I just spent just going like, oh, when is our turn?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, when am I getting my goodie bag?
Do you know what? I'm going to advocate for something that feels like it's maybe unusual. And I don't know whether in practice this makes sense because, of course, I'm not a boy, but like I feel like boys should get the same thing, but when they get those, like, I don't know how to, like, what the scientific name for this is, but it has a scientific name. I'm going to call them like shadow erections. Because like apparently, when you're younger
Yeah,
and you can't really control it, it just comes up. Like
what's
you're
it
thinking
called? What's
about
it called?
science,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you're like,
Oh my god,
I'm
I forgot
assuming,
what it's called.
mm.
The yeah. Oh my god, I forgot what the name is. But I agree with you because I think when
Or like
uh
boys should get blankets at school or something. Like I don't know, something
yeah,
you can put on your lap.
thicker underwear.
Or actually, yeah, maybe that's the best solution. Because actually, if you're a boy in class and then you get a giant blanket and you put it on your lap, everyone's gonna know
Yeah,
what's
that's a
happening
bit
as
obvious.
well.
But I remember, oh my God, like I agree with you. And I kind of feel like now, although again, when we started recording this, I did not think that we're going to do
Neither.
a sex ed episode. But yeah, I remember as a, and again, like that's the thing in Romania. Oh my God, this is something that actually I wanted to bring up for my comedy set eventually. So I guess this is the first time I'll share with the world. In Romania, it's like it's such a taboo subject.
Hmm.
So I remember again, same like being like a boy and then going like, "Hey, why am I getting like a boner doing maths class? Like, am I in love with maths?"
It's like, ooh, five looks so
So, yeah,
sexy. Look at
and
those curves.
and the thing is, because you like go and like you try to no, you didn't even speak to someone, but you like try and listen. And like, for example, our religion teacher told us that, um, and I'm again, sorry for everyone listening who didn't expect this. Told us that masturbation kills brain cells.
Oh yeah, I heard that rumor as well.
And
Did you have a particularly like dumb person in your school
no,
who
no.
you were like, oh, I bet he masturbates a lot.
Yeah, well, the thing is also they were saying that yeah, so it kills brain cells, and I'm going to tell you what happened after. But then the other one was that that's why like your skin breaks. That's how you get like spots.
That's so
So
to say
so
to
yeah,
kill.
and not only that, but like luck. I feel like I was very fortunate to have great skin my whole life, but other people they had like they had those like puberty hit early and wildly visible,
Yeah.
and all I could think of was like Wonka.
Oh no,
You know,
that's so much
I
worse.
all I could
Oh
think of, I'd think I recommend they go home. They
yeah,
just like masturbate all over the house,
yeah.
and
Just
then
get it
they
all
come
out
to
in one
school.
go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but then oh my god, yeah, and I remember I heard this like someone talking about how every time before they like abuse themselves uh no, sorry, after they abuse themselves they would start doing homework straight after just to double check that their like intelligence is still
It was probably increased because of post nut clarity. I don't know. That's what I'm
it's still
assuming.
intact. And I was like, but then in my head I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Because I remember just going like, hey, look, as soon as you've done it, you take the book, like the maths book, and you start doing equations, and
Yeah,
you're like just to make sure that like nothing leaves.
that's so funny. Oh, that sounds like almost like a covert way to get people to actually study in case.
Oh my god! But it was so weird because again, we've never, again, yeah, it wasn't something that was talked about, and I think like I remember watching Big Mouth,
Mm-hmm.
I think through the pandemic actually, and I was like, whoa, this is ridiculous because like all these things I have, like I remember as well on that regard, where I would be like at like football practice and I'd get like a bone. I was like,
That
This
sounds
is weird.
so nuts. I like there's so much about male physiology that I don't know how you live with every day.
Thank you.
I
Thank you for understanding the struggle.
Yeah, dude. No, I genuinely think that when what was it? There's a lot about like
Please ask me. I'm gonna answer all
oh, perfect. I do have a question that I ask almost all men, and the conversation kind of like fades. So I'm gonna ask this, but like I genuinely think that the when we can have compassion for each other as like different genders, as different like sexes, it makes life so much easier. Like, why would we say that like men have it completely easy all the time with everything? That's not true. Why would we say that women have it hard with everything? That's also not true. There's an equilibrium that I feel like if we both acknowledge that sometimes there's certain ways that we will never understand each other, but we acknowledge that we know that it's difficult, everything's going to be fine. Or not fine, but like at least better. So there are things about male stuff that looks hard, like having balls in the summer and accidentally sitting on them, and that is my question.
No, I'm quite lucky for being young still, and I
But
don't.
that happens to young men too.
Not to me.
Oh, you're the male equivalent of like girls without cramps during that period then. Because I first found out about this, like I remember I was like, well, how old was I? I was like maybe 20, 19 or 20. Actually, yeah. And I was at work and one of my colleagues who wasn't that much older than me, I think he was 23. He like sat down and immediately stood up and then hunched over.
No
And I
way.
was like, what happened? You look like you're in a lot of pain. He's like, oh, ah, I sat on my balls. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Aren't they always there? In the. And he was like, no, because it's hot and I'm wearing boxers. And he started explaining it like it's very normal. And it confused the shit out of me. Because I just, aren't they supposed to be? And I like, obviously, because I ask this question so often, I now understand that based on the temperature and the time of day, they expand, they contract, it's skin, it's loose.
Yeah.
Get it? But still, can you not? There are nerve endings in them. And so, in theory, you could feel them
Feel
swinging
them. Yeah,
around
exactly. Yeah, that's the thing.
and like move them out of the way. I don't know, like
I
do a hip thrust and then sit down.
if I were you, I'd check in on him now just to make sure he's got the help that he needed.
I'll text him.
Uh,
I'll send him this podcast when it comes out. Be
yeah,
like,
I'm not. Again, to be honest, I don't know I don't know what's inside specifically. I don't know the biology. I do feel at times, but no, I've never had this issue because I know that this is the kind of things where I think like I'd always think, oh yeah, my dad had this problem, like has this problem, or like
really?
yeah, because I think again, but that my train of thought, and again, is not something that I've necessarily done a lot of research on.
Mm.
It's as far as I'm aware, it's something that happens more to like a when you're like older, basically, because I think when like
Mhm.
your skin
Like
kind of
it
like
sags.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. While again, given the fact I did mention earlier, I have perfect skin.
Oh, maybe that's why.
I don't know.
Makes sense.
Yeah, good genes. Well, I have my nostrils are fucked because they are super tight. I think I have every other problem besides of like skin. So like yeah, like my teeth. If I don't brush my teeth once, I get like a cavity. It's really it's yeah, it's so annoying. But at least I was blessed with perfect skin.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was started playing Baldur's Gate recently.
What?
Baldur's Gate,
What's that?
what? It's the game of the year of 2023. Um,
That's 2 years ago almost.
mm, oh my God, I was gonna say no, it's not, and then I realized that it's November 2024.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Um,
reckon when this comes out, it might be 2 years.
well, it was like are you much of a gamer actually?
I used to be when I was younger.
Mm,
And then I think basically because of the way I came in here, where like everything was like a shit show, and I didn't have
yeah, and
basically money. I
mhm.
didn't game, and now I play FIFA a little bit. I play Football Manager. I I want to say I'm slightly up to date on like PGO. I think it's called the English name. The like basically like Counter Strike and
Oh, sure, sure,
Call of
sure.
Duty stuff like this. Like
Yeah.
I kind of like I'm aware of like what's on the market, but that's pretty much it.
I'm big into gaming in terms of like I do like indie games. I'm mostly into like role playing games where you like there's a story and there's a narrative. If you paid me like to play Football Manager, I would throw the computer out of the screen.
Why? That's role playing.
But I don't want to be a football manager.
You see, that's a
I want
problem.
I want to go and like like get with elves and like take over a village but do it with kindness, and then I want to date a hot elf, and then sorry, this is not extra, this is going to if you play Baldur's Gate you'll understand because it's a lot of like there's seduction involved and whatever. But my point was the
I
reason
mean,
I brought it up.
I did lose my virginity in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, so
Yeah,
I get it. Yes.
that but like better graphics.
Trust me, we used to have. Oh my God, do you have you played Sims?
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yes.
me and my friends found a hack back in the day where you could I actually see them.
When
I
the
mean, they were
couples
saying that, oh yeah, you'd see them having sex, but technically you could just see like a bed sheet moving.
yeah,
And we were like, again, bear in mind we were like 12 or 13,
yeah, exactly,
and
yeah.
it was the craziest, like the best thing I've ever seen. I remember it's like, like, oh my God, we're making a baby.
It's just like real life.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. And then you do the GTA one where it's in the car.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, this is, and then after you do it, you get like that. Dun, dun,
Yeah. Oh my
dun,
god, it's been so long.
respect plus 500.
That is a throwback. That is so funny.
But yes, please go on. So builders, no, what's it called?
Baldur's Gate.
Boulders Gate.
Yeah, it's basically based off of like Dungeons and Dragons. And if you've ever played Dungeons and Dragons, there's like it's a role playing game, but it's like real. You do it like a tabletop game. So you and your friends sit around a table and basically tell a story to each other, and that's the easiest way to explain Dungeons and Dragons. Somebody basically took all of the game mechanics from that and put it into a game. Lots of games like this exist, but in Baldur's Gate, and in a lot of role playing games, even things like Fallout 4, for example, or any game like that, well, you'll have a character creation screen, and this is a very long way to get to this like comment of like, oh, it's just like that, but good skin, bad teeth, or like cavity prone teeth, I guess. And for me, I feel like I like a lot of my facial features. I think I'm cute. Yay. I feel like in the character creator screen, someone messed up. And I was like, thank you for the good skin, but please can I have like maybe good mental health or like, something else? Like, which one do you want? Why didn't you let me choose? I would
Yeah.
have liked like I have terrible skin. I have eczema. It sucks. It's really annoying. And I'm like, would I
Wonka. No, I'm
what? Look at the kind of games I play. It's hard not to sometimes. Um
I want to say sorry for everyone listening, but yeah, we're good. I think Nancy didn't.
yeah, I'm all right.
Please continue.
What was I gonna say?
No, you were saying that you'd rather make a choice rather than
Honestly.
I'd give up the like the nice features
Yeah, even with
for like good mental.
and for me, I think I would like I don't know. Sometimes I'm like I would when I think about my eczema, I get it on my face, and then like sometimes like other places. But I'm like if I could just get it all on one leg, for example, that would be so much easier for me, and
I,
just get it to stay there,
yeah, but
or make both my legs
I
where
wouldn't
my
see the
eczema is.
no, I wouldn't see the point.
But if you could trade, like if you
Yeah.
like if I could take all my eczema, put it all on like one leg, and then in this character
On
creation
whose
screen.
leg? She-
Well, I mean, if it's somebody else, somebody who sucks. Um, um, I if I would like the option for them to be like, "Hey, you have endometriosis. Would you like more eczema instead?" And then I would have to think about that. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
that
I
way
get
you're
it.
not really trading anything. You're
Yeah.
just making one thing way, way worse so that the other one can be a little bit better. But it feels like life's like that, even with things like careers and all that. Everything is just, I mean, I've been playing so many games recently, and they've been such a very, like, a healthy escape for me because it's nice to be able to pretend to do some other stuff,
You
but
know,
they reflect life in very interesting ways because you have to sacrifice something to.
I think they do because like I feel like my comedy and podcast is going well, but my like day job career is kind of
Mm.
fucked. So now I'm like a football manager.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
my career. That's my full time job.
Exactly.
But I was going to ask you something about the oh my god. Yeah, how do you get the like how do you make the time for this? Cuz like you're doing and I remember from last time when we spoke where you like to focus on like multiple projects at once cuz then that keeps you on your feet and it makes you feel better. But then you've and on top of this now you're obviously because yeah the thing is I barely have any. I feel like when I play I end up playing for like 6 7 hours,
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
then like for example today before while I was waiting for you no to say you but it's in like while I was waiting for like the lunchtime so that you're coming over. I had a little bit of time to kill and I thought, oh, I'm gonna go and play, I'm gonna fire up the Xbox,
Yeah.
play a little bit.
Mm-mm.
No, didn't happen.
Yeah.
So that's yeah, I'm just curious, how do you make up the time? Or
I live a disastrous life in a lot of different ways. So I have insomnia. It's pretty chronic, which means I don't sleep that much.
yeah.
I also almost in the last like nearly 2 or 3 years, I have cooked probably less than 50 meals, less than 100 meals, less than 50 meals, which means that I don't have to cut vegetables.
As if that's taking so much
I know.
time.
It feels horrible. Anytime I cook and I have to take all that time to wash dishes and clean I hate it. So I don't do it. I just poke some like holes and put something in the microwave and it comes out and then I'm done and I throw it in the bin. It's easy. So I don't sleep, I don't cook. I this feels like a rap song. I don't sleep, I don't cook. Anyway, um
Nice.
thank you. But I it's also I do things. I call this like I do everything in bulk. So when I did my laundry the other day, I did I basically washed all of my clothes in one go. Terrible idea because it's cold outside now. I can't leave my clothes outside. Our dryer at at home it breaks the fuse, so like we can't have stuff going on at the same time. Again, I live with five other people, so there's always people in the house, there's people that work from home. So I can't really use the dryer that often unless I like send a message to the group chat and being like, "Hey guys, what's going on? Unplug all your shit." so like um and so I dried everything in my room, which was a terrible idea. Right now I smell a little bit moldy, but Um
It's all good.
but I I smell fine, by the way. It's not that bad.
Yeah, I also I didn't smell anything, but I was gonna say I should make everyone aware. I wasn't like, oh, I'm glad you
Thank
mentioned.
God you said something.
Yeah.
I've been trying to tell you. That's why I opened the window. No.
Yeah, it's like this is a cold night in November, and we're like, yeah. So and
It's like me
they
secretly being like, I totally get why he did that. Yeah. Um, but no, I just think that I live my life in a lot of ways that a lot of people are like, we all have the same 24 hours. And I just genuinely feel like some of the little things really, really add up. Like when I say, um, I have my hair shaved on one side of my head, but it's in the in between stage where it's kind of growing out, and I really should kind of go to a hairdresser, take care of it, blah blah blah. Or I could style it, right? I could still make it look good if I, put some extra care into it. I did today, yay! But I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was like, "Oh, you could do this thing where you like wrap your hair and you put curls." And I was like, "No, I literally the way that I do my hair is I wake up and on the way to the train station. By the way, my I don't have one mirror in the house, and I barely look at it because I know what I look like. It's fine. Um, and so I untie my hair, I braid it, and then that's it. and I like it's fine. Nobody has ever said anything to me that's been like, "Oh my god, your hair looks crazy. Are you okay?" So, I'm that's how low maintenance I am, that I can do my hair in like 20 seconds and like leave the door. If like I genuinely feel like all of that time really 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 adds up all together. And also the stuff that I do when I'm not when I'm not focusing on something, I'm still doing multiple things at a time in terms of my content intake, is how I'll put it.
Mm.
So if I'm playing Baldur's Gate and there's just a part of the journey in the game where I'm walking, my character's like walking from one place to another, or there's a fight going on, so it's not like very dialogue heavy, or I don't need to concentrate that much. I'll put a YouTube video in the background and I'm watching this guy. I really need to like actually shout him out because it looks like the most boring channel possibly in the world, but it's how I learn about really weird stuff. Like it's called Technology Connections. And I listened to an hour long video about how refrigerators work. So now I can tell you how to fix your refrigerator.
Very well.
And all of this stuff happens in the background. Um, Whenever I'm doing drawings for my comics or whatever, and part of the reason that I have to do so many events is literally because if I do not, I'm not going to be creating anything. There's nothing going to keeping me
Fair.
accountable to anything. Um, but speaking of, I need to try something with you because when I'm also on my commute, that's when I mostly draw my comics. I have a
Oh,
tiny
interesting.
tablet that I use. I have an iPad mini, and 99% of my comics have been created on the tube because I
Huh.
cannot concentrate at home, and going to a cafe every day is very expensive. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Which also means that anything else that I'm doing on the tube, it 99, I'd say not actually. No, I'm going through a phase right now where I'm just like playing games and listening to podcasts on my phone. But um I've been writing a comedy set.
No way.
So I'm gonna see if I can try it on you at some point.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine.
Do you want now?
I mean, it's up to you if you want to do it on the podcast. We
Yeah,
can
I
do
think
it
it'd be funny.
after. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Let me get my notes out. Also, so the way that I've written some of this, because I don't like throwing away ideas, I have like sketchbooks and all this stuff that are just full of things. In my notes app, I don't know if you could see that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've put like strike throughs on things that I've included that are not funny, but also I read this on the way here. Some of it really doesn't make sense, but I've decided that I think I want to try it anyway, see how it goes.
Look, it's up to you. I'm happy to listen either way. If you want to do it on a podcast for everyone,
I think it's funnier to fail in public.
fair enough. Please, when
No, I'm really scared.
yeah. Welcome to the stage.
Wait, no, hold on, hold on.
Okay.
First, let me ask you about your process.
What do you mean my
How
process
do you
of
write jokes?
how do I write jokes? Let me think. No, just because it's not to. I'm just thinking to see like how do I because to me like now I feel like I got to the point where okay, I'll tell you because I was going to think about I don't know, I was trying to get like a very good answer. I'm just going to tell you for example like what happened yesterday, right?
Yeah.
I I know I have a show
Mm-hmm.
on. I also know that now basically because I got like about I got like a 15-minute set which is recorded that I'm really happy with
Mm.
and I want to develop, then basically I record that, like send the promoters and say, hey, look, this is the kind of work that I do. Please book me.
Yeah.
Um, Yesterday, for example, it was a night when I could take, I could basically check out my notes.
Mm.
So it means that the way I write ideas that I have,
Mm.
and then throughout saying it out loud, it will get redefined
Mm.
into whatever it ultimately becomes.
Mm.
So like in my phone for example or in my note like in my I like to write both in my on my phone
Mm-hmm.
and on my notebook. I feel like on the on the phone I like to write the idea. So say like something really funny, like something that I think might be funny comes in my head,
Mm.
I will write it on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
However, if I'm trying to turn that into a bit,
Mm.
I will do that by writing it by hand, because I've noticed, like, as in like I physically write it
Yeah, in the notebook.
with with my hand, because I find that I think the and again, I guess it's kind of like I probably like psychosemantic sort of stuff where, because because when I use my hand as well, I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, it feels almost as if I'm on stage saying it,
Yeah.
while if it's on the phone, I feel like typing it
Yeah.
with like my thumbs. It just feels a bit like, oh, I'm just sending a message to a mate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I write. I get ideas, and then those ideas will eventually develop onto something else. At the moment as well, what I do is I try to have, I think it's a technique that I've learned or I've heard about from Nate Bargatze, who's a comedian that I really like and I really admire. And basically I write, because I do mostly storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
I try to have a story, but I don't want to keep people waiting too long for a punchline. So
Yeah.
the way I do it is just that I put like little hooks in it. So I'll be like, "Hey, I'm from Romania. Here is a quick gag," and then I'll be like, "That's actually I'm from the north of Romania. Here is another one, and that's." So I will basically like, if you ask me what that joke was, I'll be like, oh, that's the joke about me being from Romania. But it's actually, again, it's a story that has multiple jokes
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah.
So that's, yeah. So, but then the process, how I write now,
Mm.
I would just have like a thought,
Mm.
and then I'd be like, oh, okay. Like, for example, the one that I was telling you earlier about like masturbation, I think I'm going to put it on my set.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I know where it goes. It goes on to like I have a bit about like my mom telling me lies, and I think I might go. And I also have a bit about like, hey, I don't agree with, when the world's, so some people say, oh, British people are ignorant. I don't think. I think we're all ignorant. Like, you got to acknowledge that. So I think you will work out near that.
Yeah.
So, but then that, yeah, that's how I put it. I just like have ideas, and write it down, and then I try to make it into a set.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when I build longer sets, I use sticky notes as well, where I just write the idea on a sticky note and I
Mm.
put it in front of me to just like see the segue, basically try
Yeah.
and figure out segue.
And then you can move them around. That's really smart,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
So part of the reason that I ask about that is because I I people have said, "Oh, Nancy, you're really funny," and I'm like, "Okay, cool, yay, thank you." I can see that because people are laughing when I talk and stuff, and I know that a lot of people, both from speaking to you and other friends of mine who have done like comedy or like no comedians or a dating one or something, they have been like, "Yeah, so and so is really funny." But they're very bad at being on stage and doing stand-up comedy. It's two completely different things because I think I'm really funny as well, but only in conversation. And so in I've thought this would be an interesting challenge, especially because I'm the type of person that's also like, if someone says you can't do it, I'll be like, yes, I can. Yes, I will.
Uh-huh.
Let me show you. I'm gonna do it. I made like what was it? I can't say what I made because I have technically need to sign a non-disclosure agreement about it. But I made something that should normally take weeks. I did it in one day, and I was like, "Ha,
No
yeah,
way.
bet you could friggin' do it." Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I like doing stuff that is not expected,
Right.
and because I was speaking to a friend of mine, and they're like, "You'd be a terrible comedian." They're very honest with me, so it's lovely to have friends like that in your life. And I was like, "Oh yeah." I started writing stuff down. It's terrible. I'm very excited about this. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to do the nap. I'm going to
Cool.
do my. Oh, also, part of the reason I asked about your process, I never even finished my sentence, is because I have, as I was writing this down, I experienced a similar thing as when I did music back in my days, like before uni, where I'm picturing the whole thing with the audience interaction as if I'm on stage. So it's really interesting because as I'm reading this now, it's like I'm imagining where the audience laughs. And I think my theory is, and this is like my preamble before you show anyone anything. So this is really it's extra. Ah. But basically, I think I'm instead of putting audience laughter where an audience would laugh, it's like the polite laughter that you would have in a conversation.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean?
I do. But I think it can be fairly similar because if you think like that's a punchline again, like if that's a hook of some sort,
Mm.
you'll have that hook either way.
Okay. I'm going to do my bit now.
Cool.
Oh, I'm so nervous. Okay, cool. Can you do that fake intro?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, um, everyone actually, all people listening to the podcast, please put your hands together unless you're driving. In which case, keep your hands on the steering wheel, but go loud and crazy for Nancy
Art music.
ArtMusic. Sorry, I didn't know if you want to. Okay, so yes, start clapping again, unless you. Please put your hand together, go wild and crazy, make a lot of noise, make your neighbors wonder what the fuck is happening in your apartment now. For Nancy ArtMusic, everyone. Woo.
So funny. Thank you so much for having me. Wow. Uh, oh, good. I'm actually glad this is already making you laugh. Great. Um, yeah, thank you for having me. This is my first time doing a tight five. Wayo. Um, I've always intended to be on stage as a musician, and people expect longer than 5 minutes from a musician, and I'm a busy woman. 5 minutes to pour my feelings out on stage without rhyming or anything, and vocal warm ups actually sounds really efficient. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to do this. I'm all about efficiency. So I'm going to tell you about my process writing this. I know that it's my first one, but you have to have a process for everything. I have a checklist. I need dopamine, and ticking things off is like a drug. Um, because it's the only way I can get high without a prescription, or scanning a really dodgy QR code on one of those like lamp posts. Yes, excellent. And so when I say I'm like dumping my feelings out without rhyming, I feel like comedy is like the Goldilocks zone of trauma dumping. Um, so the checklist is very quick and short because I need that dopamine quickly. I need it now. Make it funny. That's one. Make it snappy. And that's it. So two things. Very quick, very easy. Like a haunted house, actually. Boo.
What?
That's it.
What do you mean? Is that the whole bit?
No, well, yeah.
Oh God. Okay. No way. Wait. You have more.
I mean, I do, but I read some more of it when I was on the tube, and I was like, none of this makes any sense. There's no ending.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're writing stuff like I don't know, but I feel like when you start doing comedy, you don't need to have an ending. You will eventually get the ending.
Mm.
You only have 5 minutes, so you basically you only have to fill up those 5 minutes. By the time you say hello, by the time again, plus either some laugh breaks or even like audience, like just like cricket chirp, whatever it is, you get another minute or so taken off. So you technically have about 3.5 minutes. So you don't have to worry about any because most comedians, when we do an open mic spot where it's like 5-7 minutes, you'll probably have to like you end up having to wrap up halfway through a joke,
Yeah.
halfway through a sentence,
Mm.
halfway through whatever. So I wouldn't worry about the ending. uh yeah, no, I'm just curious why haunted house. Although the bit that you again, one of the observations was very good.
Oh,
That
good.
observation about the QR codes, I think it's again for anyone who doesn't live. I mean, I'm sure it's like a worldwide thing, or at least like big cities thing by now, where you get drug dealers,
Mm.
um,
Yeah, they
who,
like
like yeah, put QR codes on like lamp post
Mm.
lamp posts and like random places for you to scan and get like to their WhatsApp or whatever to buy weed or whatever kids buy these days. But yeah, no, that you see that was good. And again, I get it.
It
Yeah,
was even worse before I got to your place here because it didn't even have that joke. It was basically just like a crazy stream of consciousness. Technically, I think it's supposed to have an ending, like because, but there's no connection. There's no like transitions between them.
yeah,
And there's like a bit about how Eminem, because his new album came out, and one of the songs is about his daughter still. He's like, Haley, I'm sorry. And I'm like, still? And I was like, he feels like that friend who is like who you see every few months, maybe once a year even, because you know you're close, but
yeah.
you can't afford to see each other that often. And it's like, oh, sweetie, again, still? Oh, yeah. And I was like, that would be interesting to add, but I don't, it's very like it's hard. People who think the funny people like me who think that doing comedy and like writing it down is easy. I should like use this as a lesson. If anything, I'm hope part of the reason I'm doing this on the podcast is so that it's a cautionary tale.
The thing is, it's the way someone's addressed it to me, which kind of makes sense, is that you have to make people that you've never met know why you're saying it's funny. So
Mm,
that's the job, because your friends can find you funny because they know you.
mm,
Now the job is to make a bunch of strangers in
mm.
within that 5-10 minutes go like, oh, and this is why that's funny.
Yeah.
So that again, you have a totally different job.
Mm,
So it's not it's almost like as if you treat like your first interaction with someone, um as if you're like doing a comedy set and you would start right then,
mm.
but then you just multiply that by the amount of people that you have in an audience.
Oh,
Or sometimes, so yeah, I think this is basically the way you write jokes, because like in your, so in my head, my train of thoughts, I'm like, oh, I know why this is funny, I know why this is funny, I know why this is funny. But the job, and again, that's not to say this is how you do it, this is just how I do it.
yeah.
Because I also feel like with comedy being an art, it's subjective, it's an art form. So you again, there are some rules, of course,
Mm,
but it's for you to play around with those rules and make it work for you.
yeah.
Coming back, so my idea is that, okay, in my head I know why if I do this reference it's hilarious, but then now I have to think of a way of making a person that I've never seen before understand why my references are funny,
Mm-hmm.
or like why what I'm saying is funny. So I feel like this is again the job, because to you you can be, oh my god, yeah, my friends love me, which again, obviously, it's wonderful,
Mm,
it's a good thing, but that's because again they have spent time
yeah.
with you. So like, sorry, if you say something now, for example, I think like, yes, same with like the remark when when you're talking about like your like the skin condition, and I was like, oh, Wonker, it's because that was based on the fact that we know each other for a while,
Yeah.
we had many conversations, like it's you'd know where I come from.
Mm, mm.
But obviously now, if say I were to do that in front of a stranger, I'm a bit like, oh well, are they going to perceive
Oh,
it
yeah.
the
They
same
think that
way
you
that,
suck. Yeah.
yeah, that I did it, or
Mm.
do I have to do something else? So yeah, that's basically my train of thought.
That is so interesting. I've
And
never thought about it that way as well.
yeah, because again, like in your head, everything makes sense. You're like, oh yeah, I get it.
Also, my barrier for making myself laugh is very low.
But
Very
again,
low.
that's because you spend time with you.
I guess so. Also, but the also part of the reason that I know that people perceive me to be funny, people that I'm close to, is because I'm it's it's interesting the way that I exist in the world because I'm so weird. And so like if my example for finding myself funny is like if I'm even laughing at it now. It's not funny, it's stupid. Is that if someone says, "Hey Nancy, look, table." And I'm like, "Yeah." That's funny to me for some reason. And like because someone looking at me will be like, why is that funny to you? And because of that, like, surprise expectation and like how that whole formula works, that is why I'm like funny to people, because some of the stuff I do is surprising in a way that's unexpected.
Well, you see, this is the thing now, that because you know you, or like you understand, because this is why, you get to a point where or you get to a point, yeah, I think sometimes when I make a reference, I'm like, hey, why doesn't anyone get it? I'm like, oh, because that reference has been sitting in my head for a long time. Or like, even, yeah, I think even on the inside, that's like an inside joke between you and you.
Yeah, yeah.
So of course it makes sense to you.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I feel like the main job is, or like, not the main job, the main goal is to actually make someone who's never met you
Mm.
go, oh, I get it,
Yeah.
that's why it's funny. Because again, well, again, which makes it hard, because you have to introduce yourself,
Mm.
you have to and also, you see, that's a thing that it happens a lot now, because like when you see comics on TV, or like big comics, right? You don't need to see them introduce themselves, because you
Yeah.
already know them.
Mm.
While to me now, every single set that I start, although I've done it for the past 3 years,
Mm.
I still have to go through, hi, I'm from here,
Yeah,
hi,
yeah.
my name is this. So I still have to address those things, because it's new to these people. I want these people to get to know who I am, where I'm from,
Mm.
because then I want them to understand where my ideas are coming from.
Yeah, yeah.
And then,
It gives context to what you're saying.
exactly. So
Yeah.
then when they see like my work on social media, or even if then I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm doing like my own show, then I can invite them to that show,
Mm.
and then I release like all the ideas.
Yeah.
Because yeah, for example, I think you're saying one of the things I was going to touch earlier with, like you have things that just don't make sense, because you don't know how to put them, like to find the segue between them. That's also fine. I don't throw away stuff.
Mm.
I always keep it, because again, you never know how or when it's going to work. However, on the back of that, I loved Eminem's new album.
Really?
Oh my god, yes. I
I
feel like after, I think since recovery, I was so sad and
Mm.
disappointed with almost everything that he's
Mm.
done.
I
So
really liked his beef with Machine Gun Kelly when that came out.
I don't know. I just feel like he was. I feel like, and I like Machine Gun Kelly.
Mm.
I think as a pop, like especially like as a pop punk
Yeah, he's
guy,
great.
is very good, very like, I feel like it was very like 2000,
Yeah.
but without being 2000. And obviously, like, he seems like a super, like an open-minded guy, which is nice as well, because it's kind of like changing the, at least to me, like the way I thought, you know I don't know what I'm saying now, but anyway, I do like Machine Gun Kelly. However, I feel like that was a very one-sided beef. If
Yeah.
I'm being honest, like, because like Eminem was just like, wow, 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 and
Yeah.
then Machine Gun Kelly was like, wow, and then what, and then
They-
wow again, and then wait, what,
Yeah,
and then
it
wow again.
contradicted itself in ways that didn't make a lot of sense.
Not even contradicting, but it was just not as consistent. And
Mm-mm.
then, yeah, like listening to it, it's genuinely, I think, I can't remember, I think maybe even Pete Davidson said it, where he was like, it feels, although he's very good friends with, or at least he was, I don't know, I don't keep up to date with that stuff, but yeah, he was like, it just felt like, when you're like fighting your like younger cousin,
Yeah, it
and
did feel like.
you're like 19, you're like a full grown person, and you're fighting this like half a person.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, this is so one-sided, that and I also feel like that was maybe the only good thing, or like the only thing that kind of like, although again, obviously he still make money, and again, I love Eminem. I feel like he helped me learn English, he,
What?
yeah, because like when I was a kid, it was Eminem, and Eminem, Akon, 50 Cent, and
I'm just imagining you like walking into like a place and being like, smack that all on the floor.
this is actually, you know what, something like this actually has happened, because I was fuck, I can't remember. I was maybe like 12 or like 11. Again, around the same time. It's like a trend for this episode where I go like, oh yeah, I was like 12 or 11. But I think, yeah, I was like maybe 11, 12, when we had to do like a project in English class. And then we were basically, we had to do a project in English class. We had to sing a song of our choice in front of the class
That's a horrifying English project to do.
in English.
Yeah, that's what?
I picked Smack That without knowing. But neither did the thing is neither did my colleague. Like
That's
I I think now when I say this to like English speaking people,
Mhm.
people who like you know understand the
Yeah,
lyrics
yeah.
fully, you're like, oh, that's disturbing. But I feel like it feels more disturbing now. Like it feels more disturbing to people hearing it because to me at the time I was like, "Smack that all on the floor." Smack. And then I remember my teacher, even my teacher was kind of like, "That's not bad. Yeah, that's pretty good." But no, sorry, it was more like that is not bad. That's pretty good. Pretty good. I like. Um, yeah, that was my presentation. I remember I had like
Did you dress up?
well, kinda because, well, no, actually, but basically, I was wearing jeans anyway. But it
So you
wasn't.
just put them below your butt.
No, no, no. I had the jeans the like near like underneath the belly button. But the thing is that I took off my school shirt
Uh-huh.
and I was only like left in my vest because I had a vest underneath the school shirt. So yeah, and I think I had like it was a cap, but it wasn't even like a era cap or whatever it's called, like a baseball hat. I think it was just like a hat that I just put like backwards.
That's so funny.
And I was like, yeah, smack that all on the floor, smack that. And then people, again, it was a vibe, like, but that's the thing. That's how I learned, at least like that was my introduction to English. I remember like Stan and stuff like this. Oh my God, it was mind blowing, and yeah, 50 Cent, like Get Rich or Die Trying. And, the G Unit, they had a game as well. And that game was just like, was amazing. And yeah, the Timberland.
Mm,
Morning after dark. Oh,
yes. Oh my god.
those were very nice times. I feel that was, yeah. I feel like anything until I feel like in 2009 or like 10, my life started falling apart. But up to that, I was like, I remember the 2006 football like World Cup.
Mm.
Oh my God, I think one of the best summers I've ever had.
Aw.
Yeah, and I was just gaming a lot. I was just, having fun. I remember once someone tried to steal my ball, and then this girl who was like probably like twice my age, because yeah, I was like 9 at the time. No, I was 9 at the time. She was 18, and she managed to like get my ball back, and I was like, I think we're gonna get married.
Oh man. Have you what's the weirdest translation that you've had but like after you learned English? The reason I ask is because for people that listen to me speak, they're like, "Oh, you've been speaking English like you must have always known it." And I was like, "No, I learned English when I was like 6 or 7. When I first started like going to school and my school experience was in English." But basically, I there was a lot of media that I watched in English without understanding the language. And I was watching the Rodgers and Hammerstein version of Cinderella. It was directed by Whitney Houston. If you haven't seen it, it is absolutely phenomenal. Brandy, who was like very big in the early 2000s R&B singer, she is Cinderella. I watched that movie as a very young child, like thousands of times, I'm sure. And obviously, I like must have stopped watching it just before I started going to school. I came out on Disney Plus, and so I started watching it again. I was like, "Oh, this movie is so nostalgic." And the two stepsisters have a song in it because they're a little bit different from the original, and they're basically watching Cinderella and the prince dance around in the castle gardens, and the stepsisters are like, "Oh, I wish I could be her." Blah 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 blah. There's a line in it where one of the sisters was, "And if I could find her, then I'd break her little arm." like she's saying she would break Cinderella's arms because she's with the prince. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know what that was. So do you have like an equivalent?
Yeah, yeah, but no,
Because I was just making the sounds when I was singing along as a kid. I didn't know that she was going to say that she's
that she's gonna
breaking
break a
Cinderella's
little
arm.
arm. Well, again, smack that,
Yeah.
all on the floor.
Oh man.
I was like, is this sex reference? No, but that was one. But I feel like it was just random words in general. It's like
Mm.
I remember, for example, like bank holiday. I was like, what the fuck is a bank? It's just
Oh,
just call it a day off, or like it's just like it's a Sunday.
that's the kind of word that I would think I would combine together, like bank holiday. And
Bank
I would
holiday.
probably end up spelling it
Yeah,
like Bankolday.
bank holiday. Yeah,
Bank
at least. But
holiday.
I feel like yeah, when I first came in here, and especially because I came before Christmas, um, it's like oh yeah, so that's Christmas, and then that's bank holiday, and I was like, because I was like, well, okay, it's a bank holiday, so I guess yeah, the bank is empty.
Well, banks are closed all the time as well, so
But
who cares?
yeah, but the thing is, I was like, but everything else must be open, and then it's not. Um, mortgage. I don't understand how the word mortgage, like there is no because funnily enough, like mort in Romanian means dead.
Oh yeah, it's because you have your mortgage till you die.
Fair. But those were some of the words. I guess like with lyrics. Um, oh God, I can't. I'm trying to think now if there was like anything shocking that I'm like, oh, I don't know, but it's not even in English. But like for example, with the, when the Bella Ciao song from the Casa de Papel, the Money Heist or whatever. So Bella Ciao is a fascist song.
Oh my god.
Yeah, yeah. So that this was actually one of the cultural shocks that I had when like loads of people in England, oh, because obviously like Money Heist was like a hit.
Oh yeah.
Um, people were like, "Oh, Bella Ciao," and I was like, "That's like a because that's those are like again the fascist singing is like they were leaving their homes to like go and terrorize people, and stuff like this. So I feel like that's where that's what I feel like my cultural shock comes in more. But otherwise, besides of that, um, I can't give you an example. But loads of movies in Romania that I've watched as a kid,
Mm.
I wouldn't know that I've watched them because the translation in Romania, or like
Yeah,
the names of the movies are
titles.
totally different.
Mm.
Like yeah, I even remember like the James Bond movies. They because obviously you have like Quantum of Solace,
Mm.
which I still don't understand what it means, even after I've learned English.
Good point. Me neither.
But then the Romanian definition or like the Romanian translation of like James Bond, whatever, and you're like, what the fuck is this? Like, have I watched this? And then I think it's happened a lot after I came here that I would start watching a movie,
Mm.
and I'd be like, I've watched this before,
Yeah, I do the same.
just because it was a different name. But yeah, no, I don't. I wouldn't know precisely to like I wouldn't be able to precisely, but yeah, that's a bit. And also with Cinderella I get it because I think even the Romanian version was very like aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he was like, oh, it will like break your leg, and also like the whole idea. I feel like people don't understand that like people were like cutting their toes and
Excuse me.
heels, because on in the Cinderella the idea of like making the shoe fit,
Oh yeah.
and I'm like, do people understand?
Well, actually, the original is it Hans Christian Andersen who wrote Cinderella originally? Oh my god.
It's just Sarma who came in and she's uh
She really likes my shoe. I've never had a
yeah,
cat be so affectionate towards my feet. Hello.
she's just the most again, that's the thing. I feel like it was quite weird today because you had first Pickle coming out, but I think yeah, she was sleeping, but she's the most the more friendlier one. Usually Pickle is the one that hides away, and she doesn't like company. But Sarma is the chill, is the cool one, although I love them both. um
Cool little cats.
Wonderful, yeah, wonderful babies. But what was gonna say?
Oh, people, the original story of
Yeah, the
Cinderella.
original story of Cinderella, where it's like it's some
Yeah.
shocking behavior. Like, oh yeah, just cut your
Yeah,
heal.
those often like yeah, get it makes like I think what was it? I remember someone put like one of those Twitter like screenshots on Instagram. This is how I consume most of my social media. It's just all on Instagram, but coming it's curated. Um, but yeah, it's the original story is so much. I don't even remember like apart from the toes being chopped off and other stuff. I think there's other more violent aspects of it that I can't remember, but it's probably for the best.
Yeah, but you read all these things and you're like, oh, because apparently like Walt Disney, I think he was either an anti-Semite or a
Mm,
racist or both actually. Yeah,
yeah, back then it was like
and then but then
rare
you
not to
you
be.
you listen to the Disney some Disney stories and you're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like there were signs like when people are, oh my god, can you believe he was a racist?
It's like, well,
And I'm like,
when you say
yeah,
it, actually,
yeah. I'm like, yeah, I got it.
yeah.
So I have this thing, this theory almost now, that I just assume that if we speak about anyone who's huge before the early 2000s,
Hmm.
I just assume that they must have done something bad.
Yeah.
And then that doesn't basically come in disappointment to me, where I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe they did
Yeah.
this. I'm more like, yeah, I thought so.
It's like, oh, that's a shame. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm like,
that's like the worst worst reaction you'll get from
yeah,
it.
because now I feel like the amount of, I don't know, like heroes and like comedy heroes and freaking, I don't know, like musicians. I feel like it was crazy last year, even the amount of musicians. I was like, oh fuck, I
Mm.
don't want to listen to you anymore. And I was like, but that's
And it sucks.
heartbreaking. Yeah,
Yeah, because you some of those songs are not connect. You're not thinking of the artist when they're playing.
yeah,
Do you know what I? Oh, there was a song that I was thinking of today, and I was like humming it to myself, and I was like, oh, this is man, I should put this on. And I remembered who it was by, and I was like, it's R. Kelly's Ignition.
it's a good song.
It's a good song.
It's a very good song.
Why can't people who make good art also always be good people? Oh,
Yeah, I think that's the price you have to pay.
I also think like I was thinking about this as well with because the opposite thing can happen.
You
Um,
have bad musicians who are nice people. No, I'm
but
joking.
actually that too.
Like,
It's like
you're the nicest person, but
it's
the
like
music is shit.
oh man, keep going though. Maybe you're so nice that we'll
Yeah,
get there. No, but I was thinking how like sometimes you have as a creator, your work can be used by like once it's out there in the world. Because I
yeah,
was thinking about this in the context of AI and how artificial intelligence and social media platforms are using content that's posted to train their generative AIs when it comes to like image generation. And I was a lot of my friends who are have been professionals for much longer than me are like, I'm leaving the platform. My work and my portfolio is too valuable, and they've gone from like Instagram to a app called I think it's called Kara. Let me double check. Da, 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 da. Yeah, Kara, because Kara is a new platform that's popped up specifically for artists. It doesn't have like an algorithmic feed, and it doesn't have artificial intelligence, and like they vowed not to ever use it. So for me, there's still a bigger like the problem with Kara is that it's artists and other artists, and we have this like thing in conventions where at the like towards either at the very beginning or very end of the convention, artists will start to leave their tables so that they can visit each other and be like, oh, I wonder what else is at the convention. And we have the like, oh, it's the same £10 being exchanged from one person to another. So if like someone
yeah,
buys a comic from one person, £10 that they also made that £10 was given to them from another artist who came to their table. So for me, posting my work on social media on Instagram specifically still has value to it because it's going to reach an audience of people who are not artists, even though most of the people that I follow and follow me are artists. Anyway, but the point is, when you share your work um, in public, sometimes it's so hard to reconcile with whether or not you should do that because of other
Mm.
people misusing it in a different way that it was intended. And like to almost bring it back and attach it to like the comedy side of things, I feel like comics has allowed me to express everything in a way that makes me comfortable with like if it's misunderstood, it's because literally I didn't do everything in my power to make you understand it. Does that make sense?
It does, but I don't necessarily agree
In what way?
with like the last bit. You
Like,
know, like if I put something out there, like for example, you see loads of quotes
mm,
for example, like the Albert Einstein, you know, like to some people he was he because obviously he was like a biologic like a Jew, but
mm,
he wasn't religious.
mm,
But then to some people they would say, oh yeah, he's still like a Jew, as in like
mm,
a practicing Jew. But then atheists also use the quotes that
mm,
the same people who would go, oh, like, look, he's a Jew,
mm,
quotes, right? I think it's the same with, yeah, like the thing also, because I think about like religion a lot, but is the Nietzsche thing as well, where like atheists would use Nietzsche, but then also like Christians or like other religious people would use Nietzsche, the same Nietzsche quote
mm.
to tell you why it's not good to be an atheist.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like that's not your responsibility. So
Yeah.
that's the part I didn't agree with, where I feel like you post something, and also because it's art,
Mm.
I feel like it's meant to have an fairly open ending. You should
Mm.
allow for people to basically, because to allow something to resonate with them however it resonates with them.
Yes,
So if
that's
someone
fair.
takes it out of context, that's technically not your also like practically not your problem,
Yeah.
because you've done the work so far. If like, look, for example, there are loads of filmmakers that if you ask them, hey, but so then what was the movie about, they wouldn't tell you,
Yes.
although they clearly they know what the movie was about, they know what their vision was.
Yes.
They will not tell you because they actually they prefer to have you, and also because obviously it creates a lot of
Mm.
like it makes people talking basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the thing. I feel like, you know, you get so much stuff out of context, which yeah, in one hand is annoying, but in the other
Mhm.
hand, and also the thing with like the AI usage and everything, I agree. It's look, it's a shame to an extent,
Mm.
but also I agree with you. Like the amount of people that you can reach out to, it's huge, and you know, like I said, it's a price that you have to pay. But the thing is, ultimately, if someone likes your work, they will want to support you. You know,
Yeah.
like ultimately, if someone wants to see, and that's the thing. If someone sees your, I think the only thing that I would do is probably I would like for AI to do something like, you know, a thesis or like a uni assignment gets checked, what is like
Mm.
checked for plagiarism,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
the AI, like when you ask AI to like make you a logo or something, they
Mm.
should say this has been inspired by so and so and so.
Yeah,
So you give
like
credits to those individuals,
and
because
actually
then at least they will be like, oh, okay, so because of like say like Nancy's post, then AI thought, oh, this is a good logo for your business. And then that person can go. I almost feel like, you know, it should be the sort of friggin' I don't know, like a music platform, you know,
yeah,
where
like
you
Spotify.
based on your users you get a certain amount of money. Although it's not going to be a lot, I know it's unfortunate, it's
Mm.
very little, but at least you should still get something. It's like almost like making a jingle, you know.
Yeah, I
'Cause-
honestly think that like with OpenAI creating things like I think they created Dolly. Um but if they
yes, they
understand
did.
where their source data comes from, then whatever the premium users are paying could go towards that. That would be quite an interesting model.
So you see that this is the kind of stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'd see it work, but obviously I don't understand. I don't know if it's realistic. It's just a thought that I have.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
also, yeah, I my dad had this theory because I do a lot of social media work now, and luckily I got to a point where like my platform is growing, and you know I'm working really hard, which I didn't expect I would have to, or like
mhm.
I would have wanted to. Well, basically, it's because like my dad had this saying, which is, you can. Sorry, what was the saying? You can piss against the wind,
Mm.
but ultimately you're only gonna wet yourself.
Yes, actually, yeah, 100%. I know what you're saying. It's
So
all. I feel like with all the people that are, I'm very sad about like the way that AI is being used in larger industries. I think I was very, very, very upset about how AI was being used by like your average person. And I was like, why wouldn't they commission an artist? It's like they never would have in the first place. It's not something
yeah,
that they would have done. So this is just facilitating art for a lot of people that wouldn't have otherwise. And maybe it might even be a gateway to them actually ending up commissioning things. But like sorry, there's like 20 things that I said that I wanna like add more stuff to on the context side of things. Um I think with like the reason I was like I'm really comfortable in comics with the context side of things is because the uh I have both the image and the words. So really it's very difficult to get those two confused, and I don't mind that being taken out of context and being like, because I'm like, oh, okay, there the context exists. Whereas with like something like a stand-up set or even like music, when I was creating music, I wanted my original interpretation to be clear to the person that it would resonate with, so that the person who I'm like singing it to in my audience understands that message as well. um and because I consider my work to be quite personal, I want it to like reach that person. I don't really know where I was going with that, but yeah, that's kind of how I create that, and I guess that's why I potentially would find it very difficult to do like a short stand up comedy set. I almost feel like I would almost be better at doing like a 5 hour special.
I'm sure you'll have many other comics who will say the exact same thing. Um,
Then I could tell you 20 stories, and at the end, it's going to be the best punchline in the whole
the
world.
whole world. But the thing is though, because you still, yeah, you have a vision, but then sometimes I don't know, like, at least to me as well, I feel, and I don't know how much I do it in stand up, because I feel like I kind of like I have a start and an end to my
Mm.
jokes eventually. But with stuff like, although again I'm not I feel like besides of comedy I'm not a very creative, or like like I don't look at the painting and I'm like, oh my god, I see the vision of this. I'm more like, yeah, it's either a nice or a not nice painting. That's where like I my levels at. But then with the music though, I feel like the one of the things that came to mind is, Sam Fender
Mm.
has a song, I think it's called "Will We Talk," which is
Mm.
actually about like I think like a one night stand, sort of like, where like she's afraid that it's gonna be a one night stand, and then she's like, hey, are we gonna like talk
Mm.
tomorrow? What is it? This it. The thing is, that song to me, every time I listen to that song, it makes me think of my mom,
Mm.
because I think about the time, because I used to like I was listening a lot to Sam Fender around like 2020, and basically that song made me. I was listening to that. I was listening also a lot to him when I was traveling to Romania to see my mom when she was like on her she was in a coma, right?
Mm.
So that was like a question that I had in my head constantly, where it was like, will we ever have
Yeah.
a chance to talk again?
Yeah. Yeah.
Which unfortunately we didn't. But then the thing is, now when I listen to that song,
Mm.
I don't feel any sort of like, oh, this is a very cute song about like this girl I used to date, or it's actually that song to me, regardless of what he wanted, like how he wrote it. To me, that song actually, it's a song about my mom.
Mm.
Or
Mm.
like, when I think about that song, I think about my mom.
Yeah.
So you see, this is the difference. This is where I think like art becomes even more beautiful,
Yeah.
because although you see someone's creation, you can still give it whatever other meaning you want, because it's like that's the thing. Ultimately, you're listening to someone's, again, yeah, or like you're watching someone's creation,
Mm.
but then nobody can take away your right to create your own ending,
Yeah.
or to put your own meaning behind it.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
if you look at something now, we look at the same thing, but we can
Mm.
um treat it in different ways,
Mm.
and that's fine. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. I definitely love art's ability to do that. And I definitely don't mind that if someone reads my comics and they interpret
Yeah.
something differently, that they get value out of it. But yeah, like I think I'm obsessed with. Actually, I learned this very it's yesterday. It's well relearned
Very recently, yesterday.
yesterday. No, I knew this about myself. I'm a control freak, right? So it's which is very funny for people who don't know me super well for them to hear me say that because like how is that possible? You look so chill, and I'm like, stop that! Stop it! Stop! Actually, stop it! You're in my way. Please get out of my way. I really need to go specifically in this direction. Um, and I'm going to control you by telling you to move. Um, but like I think part of the I very much struggle to let go of control in my art whenever I create anything. Oh, it's so hard.
No, because I mean, I agree, and I feel like I very much understand where you're coming from.
Mm,
You just the way I look at it, or like the way I think about it, is more of a that's out of my like my I mean it's in my control to do whatever I do. Like for example, it's in your control to write down and be like, hey, don't say anything racist, to one
yeah,
character to
exactly.
another. But then if someone takes your picture of context, and then they would do something wrong
Mm,
or different, that genuinely is not something that you would be responsible of, or it's not something that you would have necessarily again had any control. But again, while I say this, I also very much agree that when once you have, because I also know that with BPD as well, that I have a tendency to want to be in charge of everything because I
mhm,
want to make sure that things go the way that I want it to go. So I feel like I'm telling whatever I'm telling you now, it's based on 2 years of like intense treatment
mm,
when I had to like learn again to accept things as they are.
yeah.
Because if I were to give you my view on this 2 years ago, it would have probably been very different
Mm, mm,
from the view that I have now, if that makes sense.
yeah, 100%.
But I'm conscious of the time,
We've been talking so long.
and I just wanted to ask you. Oh, Sarma is so cute. But I wanted to ask you. I mean, for everyone who's listening to our conversation the first time, make sure you check out. I think it was actually the first episode. So yeah, check out episode number 1
Oh,
to see our first conversation. But now I'll just leave it to you to say, like plugging time. Whatever is happening at the beginning of the year, anything that we should keep an eye out for, let us know.
So my Instagram handle is nancy.art.music. And you can, if you like what you see on Instagram and you want to buy something, then you can go to nancyartmusic.com. I have a shop there. It's very cute. If you are in to comics and comic conventions and independent comic conventions specifically, Harrogate is the place for you to visit. I'm going to be at Thought Bubble this year, which is on the 15th. Nope, that's a lie. I'm going to be in Harrogate, which is for Thought Bubble on the 16th to the 17th. And you can buy tickets and stuff on the website. I don't think they're sold out yet, but I'm very excited
January
to meet
or
in November. So literally next weekend.
oh, okay, cool.
If this
Well,
episode comes out after then, by that time, I would like you to check me out on Kickstarter, which you will see on Instagram. I'm going to be releasing a series called Soul Traveler, and it's going to be very good. And that's a promise to me and you.
nice. That's good. That's a self promise. It's probably the best kind of promise. Um, thank you. Yeah, thank you for coming out today, and thank you everyone for listening. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed recording it, and yeah, check out Nancy's work, and I'll catch you later next week. Later next week, and next week we've got. excuse me. Later next week we've got 2 episodes for you. 2 wonderful episodes with 2 lovely people, and yeah, I'm really excited to share those with you. But yeah, stay tuned for that. And for now, bye bye. And oh, I forgot. Sorry. From me, Pickle and Sarma, stay skillful.